Good afternoon. It's Joyful Christian Hermit, and I was intrigued by this religious sister, as it turns out she is, Maria Raggi. Maria, Maria Raggi, Raggi. So I looked her up. It's this image here. The sculpture is done by Gian Lorenzo Bernini in 1647. Right there she is, right there. Sister Maria Raggi, or Raggi, maybe it's pronounced. Should look that up. Maybe it says here. No, it doesn't give the pronunciation. I could probably find it somewhere. But anyway, this is actually where that image is. See it there? It's just the round circle up there, and it's been made gilded over. She was from Desio, or Maria Raggi Desio, SCIO, lived 1552 to 1600. She was ended up being a Catholic nun from the island of Chios. In 1647, this Italian artist, Gian Lorenzo Bernini, depicted her in a sculpture which resides on a nave of Santa Maria sopra Minerva Church in Rome. And I was in that church years ago, 21 and a half years ago, but didn't know of her and wouldn't have, there's so many things in these churches in Italy and Rome. But it's a connection. I feel a connection. She's relatively obscure. And I read the sculpture was done by her 3 relatives after she died. They commissioned it to be done. Because she died in 1600, it would have been like ancestors. So she was born to a Catholic family when the island was still part of the Republic of Genoa. She was forced to marry at an early age. Chios was captured by the Turks in 1566, and her husband was killed by Turkish forces in 1570. In 1571, she decided to become a nun, so she departed for Rome in 1584, where she was offered hospitality at the Palazzo by the De Martini family near Santa Maria sopra Minerva, this church. An extremely pious woman, she spent much of her day in prayer and reportedly continually performed miracles. After she died in 1600, there was some possibility of her being canonized, but the general antipathy of Pope Urban VIII to such events meant the opportunity passed. So she is a sister who is memorialized by 3 of her descendants, it would have been descendants, and in this church where she spent a great deal of her time. She became a nun, but not of any religious, or she just lived the life of a nun, of a religious sister somehow. Doesn't say that she was in any particular order. I didn't find that. Does it say here? I can't really tell by her. If anything, it might have been Dominican by the colors around her, the black. But, a lot of them had black. Maybe I read someplace she was a Dominican. I'm not sure. I've been reading several this afternoon. So I just found her of interest. How horrible to be forced into marriage, a 12-year-old girl. But then, getting along, and then her husband dies. And no means to take care of herself other than to become a nun if she was affiliated with the convent. She must have been, but the only thing mentioned was that she was involved, that this family took her in, accepted her when she went to Rome. Near that church, this wealthy family took note of her and welcomed her. So if I can find out more, that was about the most I so far have found. Not a lot really about her. But I liked the obscurity and this artwork, this beautiful sculpture of her. I'm not sure. Now, Carol, the artist who watches these at times, would be able to say what that is. Or some kind of it's just an oval and like a bas-relief practically, so on that order, if I have that term correct. So, be what you're called to be and do what you're called to do. In our day and age, there is so much going on around the church. That's why I am recognizing I'm going to not look online to try to find other hermits that might be akin to what I want to live. And my understanding of all the hermit lives I've read for the last 25 years, 25 and a half years now, and the instinct also of an understanding, the analysis of why hermits chose certain ideals and certain standards, and what is written, that's so beautifully written and expressed in the Catechism of the Eremitic Life. It lists all these elements, these ideals, and some morph right into standards, are easily categorized. So I'm going to make a chart of these matters, of the ideals of hermits, of the hermits that have been successful, authenticized by their success, by their holiness, by their lives after hundreds and hundreds of years, stood the test of time and of prying eyes and those from their time period and beyond, and who God approved, who God has recognized by the longevity of their lived experiences, written by others or their own writings left behind. So, and I'm really thinking as far as diocese hermits, I wouldn't be involved. Maybe wait 100 or 200 years. Let it be proven first. Let it be tried and proved, and to settle into something solid. But for now, from what I've found in researching online of various, and through church newspapers, diocese newspapers, all over this country, and including some in other countries, like England, English language, they're just all over the place in what they're doing. And their bishops are all over the place in what they allow and what they think is appropriate or hermit-like. From transgender to people with obvious disorders to people with vices that are very obvious that should be cleared up before they're approved or in process of working on them, getting them cleared, recognizable vices, visible ones and things. So, and then what people are writing online and coming up with what they want and then justifying it to fit their own desires, I guess, but also what they think, what they're interpreting as the hermit life for them in this time period, or for a diocese hermit, or others coming up with things of what they expect or how they think they should be esteemed or looked upon, or it's just so oppositional to these hermits of the last 2 millennia and then on beyond. I want to go back into Judaism because we're Judeo-Christian, evolved Christians from Judaism in some aspects, but the prophets that lived the hermit lifestyle, but also definitely St. John the Baptist on. And I'm going to just tune out the mayhem and what I consider a bastardization of the hermit vocation in our time period, or the experimentation and the unsettled nature and the great vacillation of what hermits are doing and how they're interpreting even the canon law so differently. And some, setting precedents, other making up as if rules or standards that are oppositional to these saints and holy hermits. So I'm going to be busy working on, writing down what I have read and continue reading. I've got some, not huge books here, but books on hermit life, like right here. Solitude and Communion, Papers on the Hermit Life. And I have still books, and I have of the Orthodox hermits, Greek, Russian, some biographies of those, and Eastern Orthodox, the monks of Mount Athos. Another viewer who, I think she's a hermit, privately professed, I believe, or maybe not even a hermit, I don't know, but living the narrow pathway. I may want to change my blog title, or have a vlog, have it something additional, or include a subtitle, Hermit of the Narrow Path, or Narrow Path Hermit, or Of the Narrow Pathway. Martin had suggested that. Martin of Ireland had suggested that a long time ago. So I think I'm going to include that in my title, my vlog title. And I'll have to make some adaptations, as hermits probably had to accommodate sicknesses and sufferings. But otherwise, I've already just totally lost interest and desire in the British mysteries. I analyzed why, in addition to their voices and the scenery being very calming and putting me to sleep, but other reasons why they appealed. There's been so much injustice in my life that I really found it soothing and healing to see, the good guys uncover the injustice and correct it, and the persons were had their consequences. Then all was well in the end. And other than occasionally, like last night, I did watch the Father Brown series on, I think it's on PBS. I don't have PBS, but it's on my Amazon Prime. And I watched that. I think it's a half hour, 40-minute video. And it put me to sleep extra much. So that was good. Had good sleep last night. And it's very, very light. And actually no terrible, that one didn't even have a real crime in it other than a theft, faking he had died. There weren't any murders or anything violent. And Father Brown, the detective priest, the character developed by G.K. Chesterton, is an excellent actor. I think he was in those series that were so popular. My grandson was taken by it. A British series, you all probably know of it. I never read the books. He read all the books, and had the Lego buildings and things. The schoolboy in this magical school and dimensions. And anyway, this actor had been in that series, so recognizable, because I watched a couple of the movies with my grandson. They had a series of movies with it too. Something with a P. Anyway. So, thank you for Maria Raggi, or Raggi, for her courageous determination to be religious. And she didn't live a long life. I think it was maybe 50 years or less. Good for her. And she was very devout, spending her days in prayer, going into this church to pray. So, and we wouldn't have known of her had it not been for three descendants who commissioned this artwork done. God bless his real presence in us. Let us have courage and to strive for the narrow pathway that Jesus calls us to. And prayers for this pontiff, Francis I, who is in declining mode, and may his passing be peaceful. He will love it. I can't say anything to him but pray my thoughts. Don't hang on. You'll love the process and the other side, the being out of your 88-year-old sick and cumbrous body. Hasn't been able to walk for, I think, 3 or 4 years. He's been in a wheelchair. His knees gave out, and he also was very, very heavy. So too much weight for his knees to withstand at that old age. So his body's giving out. Godspeed, Francis I.